European boxing?
Well, in a nutshell, exposure. ESPN's obviously the US powerhouse, but with their reach worldwide, we'll be showing 24 shows this year. And it gives Irish boxing, British boxing, European boxing more exposure worldwide for a number of their up-and-coming prospects. It used to be you would have to make sure you were a main event or a world-class fighter before you even considered to be on ESPN. I was also head of ESPN boxing for many years, so you could be looking at the guilty party. But now you'll see the prospects, you'll see the up-and-comers as well featured on shows worldwide. So it's just a great deal all around for everybody involved.
I guess historically speaking, from a British fan perspective, maybe there's a touch of an inferiority complex that we used to stay up late to watch your boxing. Now the Americans have our boxing on in the afternoon. So does that mean perhaps we're going to see more fighters and hopefully some of these guys who are here today crossing the pond back and forth?
Yeah, Bob Arum and a number of the top-ranked people we've already discussed an exchange of fighters going forward. They want to bring over a number of the MTK fighters to fight in the States, and same thing, I've discussed bringing a number of the fighters in the States coming over here to fight. The American fans, in a way, are cheated by not getting a chance to see a lot of the MTK or UK fighters on their way up, because right now British boxing is very hot, and you've got just on the dais here and elsewhere a lot of terrific fighters that deserve exposure, need exposure. And I'll be the first to admit, boxing in the States, the up-and-comers are, I wouldn't throw them in the ring with a lot of UK up-and-comers. I think they'd be in some very serious danger of losing the O on their record very quickly. So I think exposing the UK fighters to the American audience is going to bring them to the fore a lot quicker, and it'll bring a new breed of American fans to appreciate the depth of boxing in the UK.
Yesterday we had in town Bob Arum, legendary promoter. I better make sure I quote him correctly, but he said, between MTK Global and Top Rank, we're going to take boxing to a plateau it has never been reached. I hope I got that right, Bob. Is that something you go along with?
Yes, in a little bit different way. Obviously, listen, boxing, especially Belfast, Ireland, anywhere in the UK, has always enjoyed a great popularity. In the US, it's on a bit of a downswing. In the US, boxing typically in a cyclical fashion of popularity. It's at a good high right now. But I think what Bob is talking about is with the advent of social media, you're reaching out to a new audience and a new fan, and that's what I hope the plateau is that he's looking to reach.
You mentioned the Belfast thing. I'm sure these people want to hear more of your perspective on coming here. Over in London, obviously, the whole world's jumped on the Anthony Joshua bandwagon as he's won a world title. But here, in this city, it strikes me that they seem to, Mick Collum was a huge star before he even turned pro here, because they seem to invest in their fighters right from day one when they see them in the amateurs.
Realistically, listen, boxing's a passionate sport. Boxing, you either love it or there's very few casual fans that you can really find that really invest their time in boxing. And, Irish, particularly Belfast itself, is just a passionate city, it's passionate people. So they naturally, once they get a fighter that they can latch onto, or just as, in general, the sport itself, they tend to be very passionate about their boxing. Again, not that I want to knock down the US, but the US, we've diluted our sports.
Go on, Bob, that would go.
I mean, listen, between the football, the basketball, and everything else we have, a lot of sports are now overexposed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's caused a real dilution of the fan base for a number of sports. Even on ESPN and other broadcast entities, there's been a decrease in a number of the ratings across the board because it's just too much at times. And too much of a good thing is not, too much of something is not necessarily a good thing. Here it's different. Here, there's the right amount of boxing, and the passion still remains for the sport. I mean, listen, and boxing's been a fabric of, you know, the culture for a long time, between Jimmy McLaren and Renty Monahan, and Freddie Gilroy, and, you know, Carl Frampton and Ryan Burnett. You know, boxing here, the people can latch onto it and not feel distance. That's the other thing about the US. Even when you have a passionate feel for, whether it be a boxer itself or an event, there still feels like there's a distance. Here you don't get that feel to it. Here you feel, Ryan's here, Ryan's walking among the fans. You know, going back, like Anthony and Joshua walk among the fans. Let's say LeBron James or whoever else in the US. You won't find them walking around the streets doing something like that. When I talked before, previous time, it's the key is bringing your sport to the people. And that's how you keep in touch with the people, and that's how you keep your fans. And here, it's still a very big part of the fabric of sport. There's a feel to it, there's a touch to it.
There you have it, Belfast. Big praise from the mouth of an American Hall of Famer. So Bob's discussed the TV platforms and the global nature of these being broadcast everywhere. We're going to talk a bit about the venue now. I'm sure you all know how special Ulster Hall is. It was actually the first time I experienced it with Cummings-Keeler. Before I came over that time, I happened to have lunch with a guy called Carl Frampton, name dropping everywhere. He knows I'm a big fan of York Hall, and I asked him what Ulster Hall was like, and he would not shut up. And he said, again, I've got to make sure I quote him correctly, he said, for sound, it makes York Hall look like sound like a library, and for looks, it makes York Hall seem like a toilet. So I said, Carl, we've had a Coca-Cola here, let's calm down. But you have to sort of take notice when someone like Carl speaks so passionately about a place. And therefore I arrived in Belfast for Cummings-Keeler, determined not to fall in love with the Ulster Hall. But I was in awe of the place the minute I stepped in it, and it got very loud that night. So yeah, we're looking forward to being back there. I'm sure you're already growing sick of my grating English accent, so we're going to speak to someone who really knows about the Ulster Hall, MTK Global Professional Development Coordinator Jamie Collins, a fight icon himself in this city. Jamie, what exactly does the place represent for you personally, and indeed for the sort of wider Belfast public?
Well, for every amateur boxer coming through, the Ulster Senior Championships being in the Ulster Hall was the highlight of their career, especially if you're from Ulster. It used to be broadcasted on BBC, you became a well-known name. From that then you got a chance to represent your Northern Ireland in the Commonwealth Games. Stuff like that was what built fighters in Belfast and in Ulster in general. It's what made us kind of ready for the big stage. Still from my own experiences there, it was like the loudest, the rowdiest, you feel the people on top of you. It's a very, very good place to fight.
And before we start talking to the fighters and indeed get onto the headline fights, tell us a bit about a few of the young stars that you mentioned there that have been built through places like Ulster Hall, sort of in not the nursery, but in the sort of school before you get to the big time, and who's going to be fighting?
Yeah, we basically have a Northern Ireland Commonwealth Games team on the undercard. Dee Sullivan represented Northern Ireland at the Gold Coast Games, Sean McComb as well. Sean Duffy was at Glasgow, Stephen Donnelly's been at 3 Commonwealth Games. So they've all been highly elite amateurs. Paddy McCrory coming through is looking for a big breakout fight. He's a big punching super middleweight, so we've got some exciting guys on the undercard. Colin Bradley, I thought, was excellent in his debut. I'm looking forward to see his second fight. This is the next generation, the next breed. We've got Ryan, Michael, Carl, etc. at the top of these guys coming through. Sean McComb, Lewis Crocker. These are the learning phases of their career, and this is the chance for them is to try and steal the show.
Great stuff. Well, let's hear from some of those emerging forces you mentioned there. No better place to start than an elite local talent. The former national captain, been touted by that same guy, the loudmouth, Carl Frampton, as the Turf Lodge Tommy Hearns. 6-0, Sean McComb. Sean, with the kind of praise coming from someone like Carl Frampton, is it ever hard to keep your feet on the ground?
It is. You just take it with a pinch of salt. It's obviously the way in boxing. it's exciting people that likes the card from. I just can't get too carried away with myself, just focus on what I'm doing in the gym and carry it on into my fights. Obviously, Tommy Hearns is an idol of mine and probably most other boxing fans, but just try and focus on what I'm good at and hopefully I can make it half as far as Tommy Hearns did and I'll be alright.
Well, Frampton's calling you that, but I know there's an official nickname you've given yourself, the public nuisance.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know the story of why you're called that, do you want to just regale us?
I think it's not okay. I was wrongly done by a guy in the Commonwealth Games, Gold Coast. I was arrested, but I was innocent. Let's not forget I was innocent in the end. So I was arrested in the Gold Coast and charged with being a public nuisance. I got a $567 fine, which I still haven't paid. So if anyone wants to chip in a few quid and help me pay it to get back, I'm very grateful. But no, but I came out a day or two later to review the CCTV footage and seen that I was innocent and dropped the charges. But I like the name, so I'll stick with it, the public nuisance.
Great stuff. Well, that clears that one up. In your gym, you've got some serious super lightweights other than yourself. So, under Danny Vaughan there, what's the quality of sparring like, and how does that help? Are you sort of competitive with Sam Maxwell and Tyrone McKenna?
It's competitive enough. I think Sam's a bit more competitive than Tyrone. Tyrone's a bit lackadaisy, but we bounce off each other a lot. Obviously, we're 3 different levels. Tyrone's making a big break for the fight here on the 21st against Dara Foley, obviously for a WBC silver. Sam Maxwell's WBO European, and I'm watching them progress while I'm trying to progress as well. So we're 3 different stages of our careers, and I believe we're all equally matched as well in terms of talent and how hard we train. So it's good to have that ahead of me, and good to see how we all train and bounce off each other, and knowing that if I'm competing with them and sparring, then I'm good enough to be at that level.
You talk about stepping up. You seem to be racing up the levels, and you're going to come up against a Czech champion who was a pretty good amateur himself, and he's 11-2. And I imagine a few Belfast fans will have gasped because he knocked down Paul Hyland, I think, at Ulster Hall only a few months back. Given that he's going to come believing he can win, and he's going to try, be coming forward trying to hurt you, is that actually going to suit your style? Because you've got such good reflexes, haven't you?
Yes, that's it. It's the better the opponent, the better I'm going to perform. I believe I come off a high level from the amateurs. I competed at the top level, World Championships, European Championships, Commonwealth Games, stuff like that. So that's experience I have behind me that most other professionals who started younger don't have. So I believe that'll come in and work in my favour for fights like this. Big step up, obviously. It's expected to be a tough fight, but honestly, by watching and seeing what he can do, I believe it'll be an easy night to work for him.
Fantastic. Just lastly, I can't let you go without asking you about, we've heard about your nickname, now about the catchphrase, bang bang gravy chip. Because I've received some funny looks in the local kebab houses ordering that. So the people want to know what that means as well, I guess.
Bang bang gravy chip, it's just in and out like an Orange Rover. You go in.
Does anyone understand?
You just get in. It's an old saying from back in the Holy Trinity boxing club days of sparring someone. It was just like, it was that easy. Bang bang gravy chip, see you later, way home.
Now we get it. Yeah, now we get it.
Same again on Friday as well. Bang bang gravy chip. Maybe a pint as well.
Thank you, Sean, and bang bang gravy chip to you too. We're going to move on now to Ballymena's finest, an old teammate of Sean actually. Musical microphone. Stephen the Don Donnelly, an Olympian. He's enjoyed a truly top draw amateur career, and he's already 4-0. Steve, not many people make their professional debut in a stadium. You did, and then most recently Madison Square Garden, and just your 4th fight. So it's just one big picnic, this boxing game, isn't it? Do you feel like you've made it already in some respect?
No, I haven't made it yet, obviously, but it's been a great start. MTK have been very kind to me, making my debut on in Windsor Park. It was obviously a lot of pressure there as well, but I always knew I was going to win my debut. And then not long after that, I fought an Amir Khan's undercard as well in Bolton. Sean was there as well. And then a few weeks after that, again, Madison Square Garden, which is where everyone wants to fight. But I've done it early on in my career, so hopefully I'm back there again later on in my career as well.
We mentioned your famous amateur career there. You fought all around the world, huge crowds, big prizes. Does that make the transition into the equivalent professionally a walk in the park?
Yeah, more or less. Well, that's why I qualified for the Olympics, was through WSB, which is 5 rounds, no vest. It's more or less like the pros, semi-pro more or less, you know. So, and that was against high-level opponents. Every fight was against a tough guy, and there was only two guys can qualify for the WSB rankings for the Olympics. And obviously, it was the way I qualified in the end was a bit of luck because I had one less fight than the rest of them. But in the end, there were still enough points there to qualify me. So, yeah, it was a great experience against top-class lads. And as Sean said, I fought the best amateurs in the world, Mohammed Rabi as well. He I lost to in the Olympics on a split decision, and I don't know if he's with MTK, is it?
Not
I think I fought him, so I fought the best in the world. So this guy on Friday is a step up as well. He's tough. I think he's 12 fights, 8 KOs. So he'll be there. He done a 10-rounder last month, so this is my first 6-rounder. So it will be a test drive for him and stuff like that. You know, against the better opponent, I'll be there myself.
Good. So given that classy pedigree and perhaps you're still developing as a professional, how far away do you feel from potentially fighting for your first title as a professional?
As I say, I haven't fought since Madison Square Garden, so I'm looking to get on Friday and get the win here and put on a great performance. And I think I'm out again in June as well, in Ulster Hall. So after that, I'm ready for anyone. I want the Irish title ASAP. I think Craig O'Brien's Irish champion, so if we can get him, no problem. Then every fight after that, I want to progress and progress. You know, I have the ability to do it. You know, I don't want to be fighting these guys. I'm 30 years old now as well, so I want to give it a good 2 to 3 years here and see where I can get to.
Good stuff. Lastly, just going back to your friendship with McCullagh, has he always been the same?
Yes. And there's actually people in Ballymena actually say bang bang groovy chip. Someone Snapchat the other day, bang bang groovy chip.
The Americans will pick up on it.
Everyone's talking about it.
Well, thanks, Steve. We look forward to seeing you take the next step. Now we're going to go to a fighter who many feel has the natural aggression and power to not only win titles but to sort of capture the imagination of the wider public. Some boxers perhaps develop or capitalise on their natural power, but maybe sometimes a puncher is just born, and Lewis Crocker seems to me like a born puncher. So if you haven't seen any of his stoppage wins, look them up on the internet machine. They're pretty impressive. Lewis, having kicked off your career with 6 straight knockouts, you're now back looking to restart another streak of them. Is it important to you being seen as a knockout artist?
Yeah, definitely. Especially with the platform now, with ESPN and stuff. And fighting in Ulster Hall. I never fought in Ulster Hall, amateur professional. So the being in that crowd and the put on a good performance on Friday is important.
Is it something that you always had the power? Would I have wanted to be your mate in the playground?
I never fought ever as a kid, no, in the playground or anything. All my fighting was done in the ring, so it was. So I think people were just born with power, but yeah, definitely the more you're working on it, and the better it gets, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah. And how has this camp been compared to previous? You're working with Ray and Mark Ginley, and I guess the power's there, and now it's just a question of refining the technique and hurting even more people.
Yeah, definitely. You know, Paddy McCorry's in my camp as well, so we work off each other. We're usually on the same show, so bounce off each other, we spar. I would do this style that his guys want to fight, and vice versa, and it's worked well for this camp, and we're both flying.
Super. You've actually got a pretty serious opponent here in GOMERA, who's been a Southern Area champion. People who watch the IFL TV broadcast will have seen him fight Liam Wells, and he's very, very tricky. What do you know about GOMERA, and how have you prepared for someone like that?
At the end of the day, a fight's a fight. You know, 2 arms, so does he. So I'm going to be the better man on Friday, and I'm going to get the win. Hopefully by knockout. Actually, I will get it by knockout.
I hope you're listening to me. And when people think about your knockout and the sort of trademark shot, I imagine it's your left hook. Trademark shots like that, sort of, some live in history, and does it ever cross your mind that maybe in 100 years' time people will be going, remember Lewis Crocker's left hook.
I used to, you ever play the Fight Night game when you were younger? Used to be a guy called Left Hook Tony, or Left Hook,
Not Lacey.
Left Hook Lacey, sorry, yeah. And I remember I was like, I'll be class one day when to have your name like that or something. It's just always something stuck in my head, and if that could happen in 100 years, like, it'd be amazing.
Fantastic.
Lewis.
Well, thanks, Lewis. Left hook Lewis. Yeah.
That's
Makes more sense than Crocker. Alliteration. Well, we eagerly await Crocker Clock on Friday night. That's a terrible pun. Jamie, back to you, if I may, having heard from these fighters. As a proud, born and bred Belfast resident, and obviously a boxing fan, you've been a boxer yourself, you're better placed than anyone perhaps here to tell us, have Belfast fighters and fans ever had it this good before?
I don't think they have, no. I think we've been feast or famine before. It's been a big promoter comes in, puts on a show, goes away. There was no in between. There was no small hall shows. There was no continuous fights. No one was keeping active. We always had the big superstars. We've had Paul McCluskey, Carl, everyone before that. The promoter came in, they jumped on the back of that. They used Belfast for the undercard. Everyone sold the tickets because we are a fight city. But then after that, there was really no professional scene. I think now there is a professional scene. There's fights on a continuous basis. There's a level of different tiers of prospects, challengers, over the hill guys. Everything is making itself work out for the future. But right now we are in possibly the golden age of professional boxing coming through.
Do you include yourself in the over the hill gut now?
Oh,
And you mentioned some of the great figureheads. Frampton there, Mick has his big night set for this summer, and right next to me is Ryan Burnett, who's going to go on in that regard as well. What do you make of the fact that now there's a real production line of these? They're going to be global superstars, you know what I mean?
yeah, well, I think Ryan, 2-time world champion, is up there with like the most accoladed Irish boxers in history. You know, these guys, Carl is already a superstar, Mick has the potential, and then the likes of Sean, Lewis, Stephen Donnelly, the ones coming through we all are expecting, if you ask me or ask anyone around my team when we turned pro, what was your aspiration to be as a professional boxer? Winning the British title or winning the Commonwealth title or winning something of that status was elite enough. But now if you ask any of these ones what they want to be, it's not just world champion, it's like 2-time world champion, 3, because they've seen the likes of Ryan do it, they've seen the likes of Carl doing it, so we see it and then we believe it, and now they're all trying to put it into fruition.
You almost quoted Tunde Ajayi there.
I know.
See it, believe it, what is it? In addition to the sort of many dangling carrots of world title status and accolades, there's now this ESPN thing where these fighters know they're going to be broadcast over the whole world, and it's literally all 4 corners of the world, and literally gets misused, but through IFL TV, which is free, and now ESPN with the American fans, it is being broadcast literally over the world. Have you seen in any of these young fighters a slight sort of upturn in their energy levels and their sort of a little bit extra in training, a little bit more desire?
It gives them all an incentive to do better. You know, it's not just this. This is not the plateau. We can now we have an affiliation with Top Rank. You're going to be able to get a chance to fight in America. You're going to be able to showcase your talents now for the American audience to see. But it doesn't just end there. There's an opportunity to go over to the US, to fight on the big shows there, to be a part of the bigger, wider audience. So it's definitely a bigger incentive for especially the younger guys coming through. You know, Steve Donnelly and Sean got an opportunity last year to go to America to fight on undercards there, to get the experience, what it's like, and then big nights, then big stages. So it's an opportunity for the future as well.
Fantastic, so thanks, Joe. Right, on to the title fights. Marco v Deco, 2 very good men, 2 big platforms here in ESPN and IFL, 1 great venue, 1 great European title fight again. As of now, there's no animosity between the 2, no raw beef, to quote the great philosopher Kugan Cassius. Now, raw beef obviously depends on the quality of the beef. There's nothing worse than processed, overcooked beef, and there's no ill feeling between Marco and Deco as far as I know. What there is the IBF European title, and that means an automatic world ranking. So we're talking about key turning points in careers here for both, which is enough to get everyone watching. So Mark, I will start with you if that's okay. You've been grinding away on this title hunt for some time. Tell us about the emotions now that it's actually here and is taking place in your own city.
Well, it's great. It's like a home derby, as you say, and it helps in training camp to push yourself a bit harder because you want to win. The Ulster Hall is the undercard, ESPN, everything's just going on top to help. So I'm ready, so that honestly can say in the best camp, no injuries, everything went well. There's not much boxing around Belfast over the next couple of weeks. Sparring's been brilliant. I've had a lot of southpaw sparring, so I can't complain about anything, and I'm ready to go.
Are you? You'll obviously enjoy huge home support on the night. Are you the kind of fighter that absorbs that energy off the crowd, or do you block it out and it won't really make any difference where you
To
are?
be fair, I've never really fought. I fought the Ulster Hall amateur, and then I fought early on in my career, but I haven't really seen or been there and seen it all, so it'll be great to be on the night, to be one of the main fights, have all my crowd there to see how I thrive off it. I don't really know, to be honest. I've been in the fought in the Odyssey, but I've never been on a packed Odyssey, so I'm expecting it to be a great night. So
Good stuff. And tell us a little about your history with Deco. It goes back a pretty long time, actually, doesn't it?
we were amateurs together, never sparred. He was always a bit smaller later then. He's obviously bigger than I, but
just a little bit.
he so I never really sparred or anything before, so I don't really know what he's like to be in the ring with, to be honest. But on record, looking at the records, there's 50-55, same sort of wins, same sort of losses, and it's going to be a real good fight.
Two guys, very nice guys, and you almost class yourself as friends, perhaps. I've always been fascinated by the notion that boxers can simply flick a switch and beat the hell out of someone they said they liked. Will you find that easy?
I don't mind Dago, but on the night I'll want to beat him up. And then when we're in the ring, we'll shake hands and we'll be forgotten about the game.
Over a point after, yeah.
It's just completely business, and that's it. We're for this game gold. We want to make a few quid, put money away for the future and stuff, and try and get the best place we can. So, but as I say, from after the fight, we'll shake hands and that's it done.
And I will try and do a little bit of stirring because we need those hits, don't we, Coop? How was I know you were roommates. So what? Did he flush the toilet? Anything? Any complaints?
Nothing so far. We're all good that way. We're kids at the time, so we've all grew up in it, and we just want to do the dummies each other, I'm sure.
That will sound different up here.
He has smelly feet, yeah.
Smelly feet.
Smelly feet.
But you always made your bed very nicely. You were ideal
good clean
roommate.
boy, you know, man.
The John O'Carroll fight, I remember speaking to you straight after and you simply said, I wasn't good enough tonight. How much soul searching have you done since, and what was the aftermath of that fight like for you?
It took me a long time to come back. It's near enough a year since I fought. Had two Mickey Mouse wins abroad. Since January I've been really training for this fight. So I took a step back and decided what I wanted to do. I realised, even though I lost to John and Tennyson, I believe I could and still would beat them without a shadow of a doubt. I've never believed they were better than me, they were better than me, and the two of them went on to fight for world titles and came slightly short. Both of them done great stuff to get that far, and I believe at least one of them out of the two could win a world title, so I believe I can still beat them, I could still beat them, so I know where my level's at. For Marco's the same as me, like he's there's no bad blood between us. I read that he got a bit annoyed when I did an interview with IFL saying I could believe I knock him out. I do believe I can knock him out, but I'm sure he believes it as well. But Marco really is a nice young guy. There's actually there's no point to hear slagging him because we all lies because of he is a nice person. Generally, because a fella you could meet up and just go for a drink with, he's down to earth.
It's just the feet that
It's just business. It's just business, and that's the end of it. Like he said on the night we switch, I want to take his head off his shoulders. I'm sure he wants to do the same, but like I said, after I could easily go for a point and shake hands 100%.
You were a star amateur yourself, and the southpaw skills are obviously still there. You mentioned Tevin Farmer in an interview the other day. how, during the period after the Carroll fight, where you had to ask yourself a lot of difficult questions perhaps, how sure are you now that you can still reach the very top? Are you extra inspired after that setback?
Well, I know how far he got there. Me and his fight was near enough a final eliminator. I know he had a final eliminator after how close I was to reaching it. He got a great deal after my fight, so I also showed how close it was. He stopped me, well beat me. I underperformed massively. I had a few problems that went on, sorted out. Like I said, I've trained since January. I'm fit. I've been fit the last few weeks. I made weight this morning. All the rest of the boys ain't drinking water besides me and Ryan. So they all must be throwing away or close to it. But
Oh, I'm dead on.
so I made weight this morning, I came fresh, and like I said, I'm training since January. I didn't know about, I called him out last year, but that was, if anything, me calling him out, it's a good thing, goes to show you. Listen, he won the IBF European, was it, Mark? IBO European. Yeah, and he could have easily bypassed me and anyone else here domestic and push on, like get a European title shot or get close to world ranking. I called him out, he kind of bit at it, and he took the fight, which I expected he was going to be a downfall. He couldn't do enough for me, but I'm sure he's looking for his stepping stone towards the IBF, and I'm looking towards my IBF.
And just lastly, Deco, talk to us a bit about the Dublin fighters coming up here and trying to spoil a Belfast party. Does that give fighters like yourself a bit more impetus coming up here to try and ruin everything for everyone?
Well, I think I'm the only Dublin lad fighting on the card, so it's really the north. It's really going to be me versus Marco at Dublin for it, but there's no other Dublin crowd coming up from besides for coming up from me, so I'm coming up as the way fighter. I know Marco brings a big crowd, and I actually hope he sold a lot of tickets, and I hope it's a great atmosphere on the night. The first time I was at the fight was between Luke and Conrad, which was a great fight it was, and lived up to it. I expect the same thing between me and Marco. I just hope we put a great fight on for the fans. I actually thought it was a 12-rounder, so we actually trained for a 12-rounder. So I really found out yesterday that it's only a 10-rounder, so it even suits me even that bit better. So listen, camp's gone brilliant. Everyone still says the same thing, but it's about showing up in the night and putting a great performance on. And it's great to fight on the undercard of Ryan Burnett. An old teammate of mine as well, in the amateur days, same as Stephen Donnelly and Sean McCollum. So it's good to be with a few of the lads who I know personally.
Great stuff. We look forward to another Belfast versus Dublin classic there. Thank you both, Marco and Deco. Topping the bill, as you know, is another hero of Belfast boxing. As Jamie mentioned, perhaps one of the most successful fighters from this city of all time, the former unified world champion, who we believe will regain that status sooner rather than later. Before we hear from him, a quick word again from Bob, who knows the rankings and has worked with some of the true unified world champion greats. So, Bob, what's your perspective on this young man? Are we talking about a two-time world champion in waiting who can get back there quickly?
Absolutely. Ryan's got all the talent in the world. The one loss was through extraordinary circumstances. Otherwise, he'd still be undefeated. He'd still be winning one belt, if not a second by now. So there's no reason to believe he won't be a two-time world champion or four-time world champion. He's got all the ability in the world.
Fantastic, Bob, thank you. Now we're going to hear from the actual star of the show. It's our great pleasure at MTK Global, and I'm sure ESPN Top Rank as well, to be working with Mr. Ryan Burnett. Already achieved so much, and as Bob said, perhaps we're seeing on Friday night the start of the second climb to the top of the boxing mountain. So, Ryan, of all the places in the world, why start this journey now, and why start it in Belfast?
I love Belfast. I love fighting in Belfast. I recently got asked if you could fight anywhere in the world, where would it be? Would it be in Vegas or New York, Madison Square Gardens? And I said Belfast because I think Belfast brings that sort of different atmosphere. I fought twice for world titles in the Odyssey, and the atmosphere in your hometown is incredible. So if I had a choice, it's Belfast all day long.
Fantastic. You've been out for a short time after that injury that was, as everyone says, a bit of a freak occurrence. How have you dealt with that time and sort of tried to turn it into as positive a thing as you can and sort of use the break to best effect?
After the fight, for a few weeks, I sort of just lived on pizza. didn't do much. But then I got my head clear again. I forgot about it, and I didn't have since it. Haven't paid much attention to it. There's no point dwelling on the past, because dwelling on the past is never going to benefit you. It's only going to hold you back. So I had a word to myself, and I brushed it to the side. Haven't thought twice about it, and I just got back in the gym, got myself fit again, and looking forward to fighting.
During that period where you were down and perhaps living on pizza, maybe into your 100th pizza or whatever it was before you stopped, you have people like Mick Conlon in your gym, and Josh Kelly seems to be very close to you as well, all under Adam Booth, who seems quite fatherly and takes an interest beyond boxing in his fighters and seems to really care about you guys. How important was that, and how did it help you accelerate your way out of the lull?
It's in the boxing booth camp. It sort of boils down. It feels like a bit like a family to me anyway. And I was in Belfast, and the boys were in London training, and they always kept in touch with me. They keep you positive. They always have good crack with you. And the second I got back to London, it was as if I took off where I'd stopped. The boys were amazing, and everything sort of just fell back into place, and it helped me a lot just to get the ball rolling again. I got back to London straight away, got into the ring with Mick, had me a few digs in the face, and sort of everything was good again.
He's a real nice guy, isn't he? I guess when we talk about icons of this city, boxing-wise, Carl Frampton has dominated 2 divisions recently. Do you feel any sort of pressure to live up to that, inside or outside the ring, or are you just focused on being Ryan Burnett and everything else is just noise?
No, I have no pressure whatsoever. I'm sort of focused on my own goals and what everyone else has done around me. Fair play to them. I don't feel I have the need to beat anyone, as in achievement or status. Doesn't mean anything to me, if I'm honest. I'm just focused on myself, focused on benefiting myself and where I can excel as a person.
Just lastly, a word on Ulster Hall and your fans in Belfast and what it means to you, this homecoming, because you fought in some pretty big events, and this seems like a chance to maybe give back to the guys that were there at the start.
Yeah, funny enough, I've always wanted to fight in the Ulster Hall. I've never boxed there, but I've been to a few shows, and the atmosphere is special. And now I get a chance to experience it, and lucky enough I'm headlining the show, and I believe the tickets sold pretty quick, so it's going to be a packed house, and I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Before we move on with face-offs, etc., I'd like to open it to the floor. Any questions for any of these fighters? Or for Jamie or Bob? Not for me. Come on. Yes, sir.
For Bob, there's been 5, I think, shows on ESPN Plus so far. What has the reaction been like? Can you give us any indication on viewership? And is there a chance that the fights may end up on the the main ESPN channels?
Fights have been well received. So we've just done the one fight on ESPN so far. We've had a number of fighters, but only one. The fight's out of Dubai. This is the first UK-based show. So this is a great chance for introduction to the US market for the fighters. The Dubai show is well received. The press in the US has been very supportive of the overall deal, because again, they're looking forward to seeing fighters that they normally wouldn't get a chance to see. So it's a great opportunity for everyone. So, you know, we're really looking forward to it, and we think it's just going to work tremendously. You know, we've already talked about some of the upcoming fight cards that we're proposing ending up on the main channel, and I would say there's better odds than not that a few will end up on the main channel.
Fantastic. Any more questions? Nothing from you? Well, sorry, go on.
I guess it's another question for Bob. Obviously,
I'll stop for you.
obviously Belfast obviously creates the big shows. Obviously we've had them with Ryan and Carl. How close to MTKC before they can branch into that main level? How long before MTK can see it nearly as that they can fulfill the SSE and bigger?
I don't know why they couldn't do it now. It's, again, as we move along, we want to get our deal right. We want to make sure that we're set also, because we want to present to the ESPN fans the best production we can. So we don't want to come out, it's not great TV to come out of the block in a big venue with big fights, unless you're really sure of the way the mechanism works. So we want to do a couple of smaller halls, which are a more intimate atmosphere. And listen, from a television standpoint, smaller halls are great television. You know, back in my days at ESPN, not that I want to bore everybody, but we used to love going to offbeat venues, small venues, because the crowd was such a rabid crowd, and you really got the emotion. So we want to make sure we convey to the ESPN audience what it is like to have fights over here, and we want to make sure we get our, we're all working together for the first time, including the production crew, everybody. So we want to get all our ducks in a row and make sure we're all in sync with each other, and then we'll look to bigger venues. Again, as announced yesterday, August 3rd, obviously we're going to be at Fair, so that's a fairly large venue. I mean, we're going to be outdoors, you know, with the festival, everything else. So we've got to be prepared to do everything 100% right on the money. So this is a good stepping point, but we'll be in bigger venues in the very near foreseeable future.
Any more for any more? No? All good. Well, all that remains is for me to say that the fact that this first ever UK show to be broadcast on ESPN, the fact it's taking place here in Belfast, I know is a source of huge pride for the fighters, and certainly for us as well. I'm sure you, the media and fans, share that pride. As Ryan said, the tickets are going. There are a few still available, I'm told, so our message to anyone looking for a great Friday night, they'll remember, is snap those up and enjoy a special night in a truly special boxing place. Before we finish, just to reiterate, tomorrow's weigh-in is right here. I'm right in thinking that it'll be 2:45 on the scales. I can't see the bloke I'm supposed to ask. I'm pretty sure it's 2:45 here tomorrow, so we would look forward to welcoming you back here then. We're going to have face-offs for the title fights, and then the fighters will be available for any one-on-ones people want. So thanks very much for your time, and we'll see you tomorrow.